So let's continue with projectile motion. We've talked about vertical projection, so let's talk about now the horizontal projection. Okay, now when a body is dropped off a cliff, like I have something like this. Okay, so this is the horizontal ground, and I have a body here that is on top of this place. Now we now drop this body from here till the body gets to the ground. Okay, so this is point B, point C, point A. Okay, so this is the height. In fact, this is the maximum height. Okay, then this is the range. Don't forget range. Okay, so now for whenever a body is dropped from a cliff, from on top of something, they now drop that body. Okay, the only formula we use is the last equation, which says that what S is equal to UT plus 1 over 2 AT squared. Okay, so let us find the maximum height, the range, and the rest of them. So we know that we are using S is equal to UT plus 1 over 2 AT squared. This is what we are using. Now H is our maximum height. This is the maximum height, is equal to now UT. Okay, now if you look at this thing now, since this thing is on top of something, it is at rest, so the initial velocity is 0. It's already on top of something, so the initial velocity is what? 0. So I'm having 0 times t plus 1 over 2 gt squared. Why am I using positive g? Because when the thing will be falling down, it is going with gravity, so I'm using positive g. Okay, so which means that the height, the maximum height there is what? 1 over 2 gt squared. Okay, so that is that, as simple as that. So this is formula for the maximum height when something is being dropped off a cliff. But if you cannot remember this thing, just remember the third equation of motion. So let us get the time to reach the maximum height. Okay, or the time to reach the ground, sorry, the time to reach the ground. From here I can make this subject of formula. I'm having that H is equal to 1 over 2 gt squared. So cross multiply to have that 2h is equal to gt squared. So therefore t squared is equal to what? 2h over what? G. So my t is what? The square root of 2h over what? Over g. So this is the formula for the time to reach the ground, the time it will take this man to reach the ground. Okay, so the next thing we are going to look at is the range. Let's look at the range. We see now our formula that say that this is now we see now our formula that say that S is equal to UT plus 1 over 2 AT squared. Now the range is very simple. You know, at range, the range is the distance from here to here. This is my range. Okay, and acceleration is not acting on a horizontal body. Acceleration due to gravity acts on vertical body. So the g will be 0 here. So I'm going to have that what? The range is equal to what? Ut times 1 over 2 bracket 0 t squared. So I'm having that range is only ut, like the other one. Okay, so my range is equal to what? What is my u? I have my u, okay, and then I have my t. Don't forget that my t is the square root of 2h over what? Over g. So as simple as that. These are the three formulas you can use to find the range, the time to reach the ground, and the maximum height of a body that is dropped off a cliff. Okay, but if the body is thrown vertically upward, if the body is thrown vertically upward, it is not projected with an angle. Okay, if it's thrown vertically upward like this, maybe a body here is thrown vertically upward like this. Okay, it means that the angle with the horizontal is 90. So I'm going to say that theta is equal to 90 using the other formula we derived in the first video. You can look at that in the first video of projectile motion. Okay, it means that my theta is 90. So that is that. So let's solve some calculation for you to understand what we are saying perfectly. The first question say, example, a body is projected with is projected with a velocity of 60 meter per second from, now watch you, from the top of a cliff 100 meter above the ground. Find I, the time of flight. I, the range. Okay, as simple as that. So what do we do? Solution. Now, if you cannot remember those formulas, just know that whenever a body is being dropped from on top of something, the only formula we are using is the third equation of motion. We say that what? S is equal to ut plus 1 over 2 at squared. Okay, so which means our height, which is h, is equal to what? U is what? 60 times, okay, we are looking for the time, we don't know the time, but they gave us the height. So our s, our h will be what? S, which is what? That 100 meters. So let us substitute. 100 is equal to what? U is what? 60 times what? The time plus, okay, are we going to use time? Sorry, the initial velocity here is 0. This is 0, please. This is 0 times t plus 1 over 2 times 10 times t squared. Okay, so because it is standing on top of something, then it is now thrown vertically downwards. So I'm having that what am I having? That 100 is equal to what? 50 t squared. So therefore t squared is equal to what? 100 divided by 50. So I'm having that that t squared is equal to this, take care of this, I'm having 2. So therefore, is it 2 or 20? Okay, so what do we have now? We're now having that this divided by this is 5, not 50, sorry, 5. Okay, so I'm having what? 20. So my t is now the square root of 20, which is what? Which is 4.47 seconds. Okay, but if you can remember the formula says alternatively, if you can remember the formula, you can use the formula to solve it. If you can remember the formula, and the formula said that what? T is equal to the square root of 2h all over g, which is what? The square root of 2 times 100 divided by what? Divided by 10. So 0 cancels 0. I'm left with square root of 20, which is what? 4.47 seconds. So anyone you can remember, if you can remember the formula, no problem. But if you cannot remember the formula, just use this method. Okay, so the second one said we should find the range, and the range, we are using the same formula, that S is equal to ut plus 1 over 2 at squared. But you know that this A is for gravity, please. G is supposed to be G. Then but gravity on range is 0. So everything here is 0. So I'm left with S is equal to what? Ut. So S is equal to, my U is 60 times, I've got to my T. My T is 4.47. So I'm having that S is equal to 268.3 meters. So you can multiply to check if it is correct. So that is that. But if you cannot remember this one, just know the formula. The formula of range is what? U times this T is the square root of what? 2h over g, which will still give you the same 268.3 meters. So that is that. For me, I don't used to remember the formula. I will just use the third equation of motion once I see that it is being dropped from a height. Okay, so let's take another equation. Now another example. Example 2 said a stone is projected horizontally from from the top of a vertical wall, comma, 80 meters high with a speed of 12 meters per second. Then I say how far from the foot of the wall does the stone hit the ground, and at what speed, okay? So another thing we'll look at, so let us look at that. If we decide to draw a solution, we decide to draw this. I have the cliff, look at the ball being dropped to this point, okay? This is the wall. From this wall dropped, they're asking me how far from here to here. So from here to here is range, don't forget. From here to here is range, okay? And they say that the height of this the wall is what? 80 meters, if you decide to draw it, okay? So what do we have now? We are having that our range, don't forget that what? Our range is equal to what? UT, okay? And our range is equal to what? U times T is what? The square root of 2H over G. So I'm having that R is equal to, my U is what? 12 times the square root of 2 times 80 divided by 10. So if you do everything, you are getting that your range is 48 meters, okay? So that is if you know the formula. But if you don't know the formula, you need to calculate the time first. If you can calculate the time first before you can get the range. You cannot get the range without the time. So let me calculate it alternatively as if I don't know the formula. If I don't know the formula, the first thing I must calculate is the time. And I will say that S is equal to UT plus 1 over 2 AT squared. Okay? Now don't forget that this is the only formula we use where something is dropped from a height. Okay? So this is the height, H is equal to the U there is 0 because it's already on top of that wall. So U is 0. So everything here is 0. I'm left with 1 over 2 times AT squared. In fact, this one will change to GT squared. So the height is AT is equal to 1 over 2 times 10 times T squared. So I'm left with AT is equal to 5T squared. So T squared is equal to what? 80 divided by 5. So T squared is equal to 5 into 5 here is 1 into 36, so 16. So T is equal to square root of 16, which is what? 4 seconds. So since I've gotten my T, I will now tell them that my range is equal to U times T, that's all. So my range is equal to, what is my U? 12 times 4, which is what? 48 meters. You see? The same answer. So I don't use to remember this. This is the only way I use to solve that. So it is now left for you to choose the one you can remember. So the next question they said is at what speed? At what speed? Now we know that look at how to calculate that. What will help us is energy. We know that potential energy is equal to what? Kinetic energy. And what is the formula for potential energy? mgh. Don't forget. What is the formula for kinetic energy? 1 over 2 I think 1 over 2 mv squared. Yes, mv squared. So the mass will cancel out because we don't even know the mass of this body. So we have that what? Gh is equal to what? 1 over 2 v squared. So I'm looking for v. So cross multiply. My v squared is equal to what? 2gh. So my v is what? The square root of 2gh. So the v is what? The square root of 2 times 10 times the height is 80. So my v is what? 40 meters. So because this time this is 1600, so 40 meters per second. So this is the what? The velocity which the thing used to is being used to reach the that range. Okay, so that is that. Number 3. Let's solve number 3. Example 3, they say if it takes an object, 3 seconds to fall freely to the ground, from a certain height, comma, what is the distance covered by the body, by the object? It's a very simple question. Solution. Now this one is falling freely, it was not projected, so from this place this body fall to the ground. Okay, so the distance is from where it is to this place, so they are just asking us the maximum height. That's just what they are asking us. But once a body is on the top of something, the only formula I know I'm going to use is what? You can remind me. The formula is what? S is equal to ut plus what? 1/2 at squared. So I'm having that this is the h they are asking me is equal to, the initial velocity there is 0. Okay, okay, 0. Okay, if it takes an object to fall freely, okay, I'm going to have that what? We need to calculate the velocity that this thing takes. Yes, we need to calculate the velocity it's used to reach the ground. Okay, but we know the time. So they say, what is the distance covered? What is the distance covered? Okay, now listen. When a body is falling vertically downwards, okay, it is not rolled. Okay, it is not rolled to fall. Like, there's a difference between this. Watch me. There's a difference between a body is being rolled to fall on the ground, okay, from a point, okay, than when a body is falling vertically downwards. Please note the difference. If a body is falling vertically downward, we are using the projectile motion. It is the same thing as when a body is being thrown upward. Okay, it's the same thing as when the body is being thrown upward. So we are going to use projectile motion. So in projectile motion, let's calculate the time of flight. Calculating the time of flight, we are using the first one. We said that what? V is equal to u plus what? At. Okay, so the velocity there, the final velocity is 0. Is being drawn. Yes, the final velocity is 0 because the thing will hit the ground and stop. The final velocity is 0 is equal to, we don't know the initial velocity, plus the gravity is 10. It will not be minus 10 because it is falling with what? With gravity. So it is 10 times the time there is what? 3 seconds. Okay, so what do we have? We are having that 0 is equal to what? U plus 30. So I'm having that u is equal to what? Minus, how can I get minus 30 meter per second? Minus 30 meter per second as the initial velocity. How did we get that? When a body is falling, it's falling with gravity. So okay, let me see what is being solved here. Okay, they use the formula for time of flight, which is t is equal to what? Time to reach the maximum height, sorry. T is equal to what? U sine theta over g, okay? And my t now, and I'm looking, t is what? 3. 3 is equal to u, which is what? I'm looking for u sine. The angle there is what? is 90, don't forget, with the horizontal. So sine 90 all over what? 10. So what do we have? We are having that cross multiply, that 30 is equal to what? U sine 90 is 1, u times 1. So u is equal to what? 30 meter per second. Okay, I got 30 meter per second, but getting minus is where the problem is. Because the final velocity, okay, it's being dropped from a height. It's being dropped from a height. Does it mean that it is already at rest? Maybe let's assume that it is already at rest. So the initial velocity is 0. But the final velocity, when it's being dropped from a height, it will get to the ground and then stop. So the final velocity there is 0. So what we're looking for is initial velocity, but I don't know how I got minus 30 from here. So let us continue with this formula. Okay, I have 30. So what are they asking us? The height. And I know that the maximum height, what's the formula for the maximum height? We are using the second equation. And the second equation said that v squared is equal to u squared plus 2as. So what are we having? The final velocity is 0. 0 squared is equal to 30 squared plus, in fact, even if I have that minus 30 and I use it here, I will still get the same answer. So because minus squared is plus, so 30 squared plus 2 times acceleration there is 10 times the height that I'm looking for. So what do I have now? I'm still having minus again. 0 is equal to 900 plus 20h. So minus 20h is equal to 900. So h is equal to 900 divided by minus 20. So h is equal to minus 45 meters. And height cannot be negative, so I'm using 45 meters. Okay, so but that is using this formula. But if we use the normal formula we have driven, we are going to have that h, formula for h is equal to what? U square sine square theta all over what? 2g. Okay, it's only height that we have 2g. So what we have now, h is equal to 30 squared sine 90 all squared. Okay, all over what? 2 times 10. So what do I have? 900 times 1 squared all over what? 20. So which is what? 900 divided by 20, which is still the same answer, 45 meters. So that is that. So anyone you like is correct. Anyone you like is correct. So let me check my time. Okay, so let's solve one more question. Let's solve one more question. They said a body is thrown vertically. So when something is being rolled, why we are using that last equation? Because they roll it. The thing first of all moved horizontally before falling ground. Okay, so please know the difference, that when something is being dropped and when something is being rolled down, please know the difference so that you know the formula to use. So a body is thrown vertically upward. Okay, not a body, a ball thrown vertically upward. Okay, reaches a maximum height 50 meter above the level of projection. Above the level of projection, then I say calculate I time to reach maximum height. I the speed of throw. The speed of throw. Solution. Now when something is being thrown vertically upward, I thought that we are going to use those formula we know. Okay, the 3 equations of motion, we can use it, or you use the formula for projection. And you know that when it is being thrown vertically upward, that your theta is 90. I told you that. Or when it is being dropped vertically downward, your theta is 90. So, but I don't need to remember the formula, though I'm going to use the two. So let me use the one I used to remember. So the first one said time to reach the maximum height. And I know that time to reach the maximum height said is the first equation, which is V is equal to U plus AT. Okay? Do we have the initial velocity? We don't have the initial velocity. So we cannot use this first. First of all, let's calculate the initial velocity. But I know this, to get the maximum height h, I'm using the second equation. We said v squared is equal to u squared plus 2as. So let us use this one to get our initial velocity first. Okay, so I'm going to have that v squared, the final velocity, is 0 because it's been thrown up. So I'm having 0 squared is equal to what? U squared that I'm looking for, okay, plus 2 bracket minus 10. Why did I use minus 10? Because it is being thrown against velocity and against acceleration due to gravity, times my height. My s is my height, and my height there is 50. So what do I have now? 0 is equal to u squared minus 2 times 5, 10. So I'm having, I think, 10,000. Okay, so what do we have now? 2 times 5, 10, this 0, and this, okay, 1,000. 1,000. So which means that what? My u squared is equal to 1,000. Then my u is equal to what? Square root of 1,000, which is what? Which is 10 meter per second. Okay, 10 meter per second. Now the next thing we are going to do is square root of 1,010 is not 10, no, because 10 times 10 is 100. So it's not 10. So press square root of 100, please. You get the correct answer. Okay, square root of 100, you get the correct answer. Or let's use that the height is 5, please, so that we can just use the 10. Okay, so I'm having 100 here, and the square root of 100 is 10. Okay, I'm not with calculator, so let's just use 5. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do, since we have gotten II, you see, we have gotten II. So to get I, say that what? V is equal to U plus what? AT. So my final velocity is 0, is equal to initial velocity is 10 times my G is what? 10 times my T. So I'm having what? Sorry, this is plus, but this will be minus 10. Don't forget, because it's going against gravity. So 10t is equal to 10. My t is what? 1 second. 10 divided by 10, which is what? 1 second. As simple as that. So the time to reach the maximum height is what? 1 second. But the time of flight is equal to what? Is t, which is equal to what? 2t, which is what? 2 times 1, which is what? 2 seconds. In case they ask you the time of flight, it's the same thing. But if you don't know how to use this, please use the formula. The formula said that what? Maximum height h is equal to what? I think u squared sine squared theta all over 2g. Okay, so this will help us to get our u, which is this is 5. 5 is equal to u squared sine, my theta is 90, like I told you, 90 all squared all over 2 times 10. So what are we having now? We're having that 2 times 10 is 20. 20 times 5 is 100. 100 is equal to u squared sine 90 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So u squared is equal to 100, and u will be what? Square root of 100, which is what? 10 meters. Okay, as simple as that. And then to find our time of flight is equal to u sine theta over g, which is what? T is equal to, my u is 10 times sine 90 divided by 10, and sine 90 is 1, so t is what? 1 second. You see, the same answer. Whether you use this formula or use the equation of motion, you are getting the same answer. So thank you very much for watching. Get ready for our next video where we solve more problems. Please don't forget to subscribe.